This is Shelley Kraft. We're coming to you live on SNNLive. We're at the Harris Group Meet the Portfolio Day here at NASDAQ market site in New York City. Joel Ackerman is with me from Champions Oncology, Inc., CSBR. It is a publicly traded company. Joel, welcome to SNNLive.
Thanks, Shelley. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you. Please tell our audience the overview of the company.
So briefly, Champions Oncology, we are a technology business focused on personalizing the use and treatment of oncology drugs, trying to solve the problem that many drugs don't work for many patients, despite high costs, high toxicity burdens, and the opportunity cost of not using other drugs that might work for them.
How do you do that, especially the personalized side?
We work with individual physicians, patients, and drug companies taking tumors from individuals and implanting them in immune-compromised mice. The goal is to grow a colony of mice with an individual's tumor growing inside of it and use that colony to test drugs to see which drugs are likely to inhibit the growth of the tumor.
I like that. That's different. Now, this mice... So you raise mice, basically, in order to be used for the implantation of the tumors.
We actually buy the mice. These are special immune-compromised mice that we buy, but we implant within them tumors and then help them grow the tumors inside and then treat those tumors with the different drugs to figure out which drugs are likely to work within a given patient.
Who's your customer?
We've got two customer bases today. One is patients and their physicians. The second is drug companies. With drug companies, we're using the same technology platform to help them determine in advance which patients are likely to respond to the drugs they're developing.
How do you know the difference between one person's tumor and another person's tumor?
It is a very complicated question. Cancer is complicated and it's highly variable from one patient to the next. While many people are out there developing analytic solutions where they're trying to really understand the genetic makeup of these tumors and treat them appropriately, ours is a more empirical approach. We're letting the mice decide which of the tumors respond to which drugs.
This is fascinating to me. So I see it on a development level, research and development by pharma companies, biotech companies, biomed companies, because you could then develop products around what you're giving them to use as a control experiment, correct?
Exactly. The goal ultimately is not to provide them with mouse studies, but to provide them with cheaper human studies. It's very expensive to test new oncology drugs on patients in phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 clinical trials. These cost tens of thousands of dollars per patient, and unfortunately, the vast majority of drugs that enter the clinic for oncology ultimately fail and don't make it to the market. Our goal is to help them test compounds earlier on in a cheaper setting, so ultimately they can get through the clinic, through clinical trials and onto the market.
So how does this data, which is incredibly valuable, so you're getting a set of data for your own use, the company gets the data for their use, the doctors and the patients, so actually they could develop a personalized treatment remedy?
I don't think we're going to go down a path where they're going to be developing specific drugs for specific patients. There is some work around that, typically what are called cancer vaccines. However, within today's regulatory framework, I think it would be prohibitive to develop a specific drug for a specific patient. That said, there are a lot of good drugs out there. There are a lot of potent drugs out there that we know work on cancer. The challenge is not needing better drugs. The challenge is figuring out which drug to give to which patient at a given point in time.
As in chemotherapy.
Exactly, chemotherapy. That's all we do. We're focused on oncology.
So for more information, let's give the website out, please.
It's www.championsoncology.com.
Plural on Champions, ladies and gentlemen. Joel Ackerman, Champions Oncology, Inc., publicly traded company. The symbol is CSBR. We're at the Harris Group Meet the Portfolio Day at the NASDAQ market site right here in Times Square in New York City. Thanks again for coming on to SNNLive.
Thank you very much.